Hello and welcome to Andy's Shed Live. This is Series 10, episode number 27 for Sunday the 7th of August 2022. Hello there everybody, good evening, welcome to the show. We are back once again for another evening here live from the heart of Derbyshire. And hello to all the people who are in the chat. It's not appearing on the screen, is it, at the minute? I know why it's not appearing on the screen. I will sort that momentarily for you. Just bear with me 1 second. There, now it's appearing on the screen for you. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, hello to everybody who is with us in the chat tonight. I see Christopher 2000 is there, Wesley's there, Mika is there. If you want to join us on the chat, we are live on YouTube, whatever platform you're watching this on. If you're watching it live on Sunday the 7th of August, get on over to YouTube and the chat is there on YouTube. Also, if you're watching it live, make sure you are indeed live, because if you've tuned in at like 6:15 or 6:30 or something, and you're watching this bit at like 6:15 or 6:30, it's actually not started your live. YouTube has started you from the beginning. So scroll up and catch up live. YouTube's got a bit of a habit of doing that at the minute. When you sign into a live stream, it doesn't always take you into a live place. Gambo's here as well. He says, hi peeps, just in from work, I'm knackered so may nod off as didn't sleep well last night, plus got my Frankenstein pyramid telephone on Fleabay. Got my Frankenstein pyramid telephone on Fleabay. Does that mean do I know this? Do I know this item? As you may have seen from what's been going on the channel from the video that went up a couple of days ago, I've been having my own problems with eBay again. A little bit more about that later. But yeah, if you want to join us, I say we are in the chat on YouTube. If you want to contact us after the event, remember you can through our website. The website is here. It's andyshed.coldpress.net. That is the website. And if you like what you see here and you want to support the show, you can find us on Patreon as well. Patreon.com/andyshed. Support us from just £1 a month. Every little helps, as a certain supermarket says. And we also have a telephone-related forum. gpotelephones.proboards.com is the place to go for that. Right, so here we are. It's Sunday evening. What would we be doing on a Sunday evening? A lot of things haven't arrived this week that should have arrived, so we're a bit short of stuff this week. So it's a good opportunity. If you've got any questions or anything that you want to ask, fire them into the chat. If I don't see them, fire them in again, because I do sometimes miss stuff. But it's a good opportunity to tonight to ask any questions or anything, and we will try and answer them for you. Right, I've got a couple of things to do this evening. I've got a couple of bits and pieces that I've got to do, and that, and oh yeah, we've got loads of stuff today. But yeah, let's see. Fire your questions into the chat, and we'll sort it out. Right, I'm just looking for something on my computer. Just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, there we go. Yes. Right, I found what I was looking for. That's alright. Okie doke. Right, we'll crack on, shall we? Right, things we have to do today. I found a phone that I forgot I'd got. Buried. I found this one buried. I think we probably had this on the stream a few weeks ago. It's just a bog standard green 706. It is an early one, 746 rather. It is an early one, judging by the shape of that there. It is one of those that wasn't made for very long. Made in 1970. The code on it is TMA. If you know your codes and know they were, I don't off the top of my head, so there you go. But from 1970 originally. And look, it's line code. So, being as Steve was kind enough to send us those line codes of the week, I thought we'd stick a line code on this for you tonight. Because I'm forever being asked how to do this, no matter how many times I do it, and my apologies to those of you who've seen me do this a million times, but I am forever being asked how to do it, so I will show you how to do it. We will have a go at it. Right, so here it is. So first thing to do, obviously, take the case off. So you undo the little screw here. Now this screw should be retained, and it should also be kind of spring loaded. This one isn't, and quite often they're not, and I'm wondering if when the GPO refurbished them they didn't do the spring loading thing just to save the cost of the nut and also the little spring. But we take the case off like that, and you look inside, and basically the curly cord to the handset is all wired up here. Red to T1, green to T2, blue to T3, and white to T10 on the bottom row. So it goes red, green, blue, and then white on the bottom row. Okay, so that's all good. All the rest of it has been altered for the modern GPO plug and socket, or BT plug and socket as well. You'll see the last four things there are joined together. 8 and 9 are joined on here, nothing on 7, and 6, 5 and 6 are joined rather, and between 4 and 5 you've got a 3.3 kilo ohm resistor. So we now stick the line cord onto that. Oh, I just grab one out of here. So here's one of the line codes, courtesy of Steve. This is I think it's probably a genuine telecom stroke GPO one, because it's a sort of grey colour, pale grey colour, and I think it's a genuine one from the early 80s when they did the transition and turned 746s into 8746s, etc, etc. So we have four cords up this. We have white and red, which are your two legs of your line, your positive and your minus coming from your line basically. They are the two most important ones. We have the blue, which is the bell wire coming from your socket only. It only comes from your socket, that. These are the two that come from the outside world, and in the socket there's a capacitor in your socket, your master socket in your house if you're in the UK, and that's what generates a signal to go up this blue wire. The green one we don't use. So we will put all of those into place. So your red wire goes to 8 and 9, your red connection. I will stick it on 8, and 8 should also have the orange to the dial on it as well, if your phone's got a dial, of course. So that goes on to there. White goes on to 16, 17, 18 and 19 that are all joined together. I tend to stick it onto either 17 or 18 purely because they're the easiest ones generally to get at, like that. And blue goes to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because the signal that is travelling in blue goes in at 6, it then goes through this link to T5, it then goes through the resistor to T4, and then from T4 it goes out through a wire, which can be any colour you like, and this phone they happen to be blue, but they did use any wire they want, into the bell coils. It goes into one coil of the bell coils, then there's a wire that jumps across to the other coil, then there's another wire that comes back, and it comes back onto T16. So basically blue and white make the ringing circuit. Okay. So we just loosen that up. T6. That goes into there, like that. And then we've just got one left. And that's that green one that we don't use. Now, on a 746 phone, there are a number of these terminals that are not used. One that is not used is T15. It goes absolutely nowhere. There is no circuitry on the back of T15 to go anywhere. So anything you don't use, we just park on T15. Like that. Spin it around into place, like so, and it just keeps it neat and out of the way. And that will just bend that up a bit, it's a little bit near to this metal bracket here, so just bend that up out of the way a bit. Now, basically all your line code stuff is sort of towards the right of the phone, and all your curly cord handset stuff is sort of towards the left of the phone. But for some reason, generally, these are swapped around. So the stuff that's on the left goes, so the grommet goes through the thing on the right, and the stuff that's on the right, i.e. the line cord stuff, comes across and goes through the grommet on the left. And that seems, I don't know if there ever was a hard and fast rule for which way around this happened or which way around this was done, but this seems to be the way that most phones come, so I'm guessing that's probably the original way. But if there are any telephone engineers out there and know which way around these grommets should be on the back of here, is that right, or should they be the other way, or was there a hard and fast rule where some way and some the others? I mean, there's no reason for it to be that way. You can make it the other way around, it makes no difference whatsoever, but I'm just wondering, to be correct, how they were when they came from the factory. So that's all done now, in theory, so I should be able to plug that in and try it. So shall we have a go? Right, I will find a convenient socket, which I happen to have on the desk here these days. Oh, that sounded good. I heard it click when I plugged it in. However, there is nothing. It's dead as the proverbial dodo. Right, so what we will do now is we will hold down the hook switch. Now on the side here, you'll see there is a little thing here, and this should hold down the hook switch. And the way it works, this little thing here that is loose to move, this little bit here, you see, what you do is you press down the hook switch like that, and then move this forward, and it kind of grabs it in there, and it stops it coming back up again in there, you see. Now if I move this out of the way, it'll come back up again, see. So and that's the engineer's test thing, to make it behave like the phone is on the hook when it's not on the hook, because obviously without the case on you can't easily balance the handset on there. So that's now pretending to be on the hook. So I will now use the phone on the desk here to try and call it. And it rings. So what happens when I release it? Oh, I released it. Oh, and it's gone weird. So there's something not as it should be somewhere there, isn't there? Right. So what is up with this? Can be problems in the handsets that do strange things with these, but that's all fine in there. Blue and white wired up there, and there should be a red and a green in this end. Which there is. Oh, I've figured out what the problem is. It's really, really obvious. For some of you have probably already seen this, because you were looking at it closer than me. The dial is not wired in. No. So what we need to do now is take that off and wire the dial in. So I need to get a few bits and pieces to do that. Right, I'm just looking for the bits to wire up the dial now, just bear with me a sec. I thought I had a diagram that showed this that I could show you, but perhaps I didn't. No, I don't think I did. Orange, pink, brown. Orange, pink, brown, grey, blue is the way to do it. So right, we'll undo this dial then. So we undo it a little bit on the hook here that holds it on, like that. So then it goes orange, pink, brown, grey, blue, I believe. I believe that's the order. Orange, pink, brown, grey, blue. I think. Let's try it and see if I'm right. If I'm not right, some of you will be shouting in the chat that that's wrong, won't you? So what are you all saying in the chat, by the way? Gambo says the pyramid phone that it was on about is the one that he'd got that was made out of spare parts. He decided to pay a few bills by selling it. Yeah, it's made out of spare parts, but it is a sort of genuine phone, just made out of bits of others, we think. Because as phones get older, that's going to happen more and more, that things are built out of bits. I'm just loosening the terminals on the back of this dial. This is a fairly late dial. I don't think this is even a 21. I think this is the thing that replaced the 21, the old plasticky dial that I can't remember the number of, and I can't see the number on it 'cause it's printed in white plastic and it's very hard to see. Somebody will tell me, but it's totally compatible with the dial 21, and the phone's got a red refurbished sticker underneath it. So that's probably right. Orange, pink, brown, grey, blue, you think? So orange, doing it the wrong way now. Come on, Andy, get with the program. Orange, pink, brown. Oh, I don't. That you didn't tell me the one that was supposed to be pink was actually the grey one. That's pink, brown, grey. So that's the actual real pink one that we will thread into there. And so it's orange, pink, brown, grey, and the last one is blue. That one feels problematic because that screw is going around forever, but it has grabbed it. So I will just rest that nail back in place for now. I'll put the little catch back on like that. We will plug the phone back in because I've just unplugged it, because I don't really want 50 volts through my fingers. Like that. So it's on hook at the minute in theory. So what I can do now, hopefully, is give it a call again. So let's give it a call. So what's it on? It's on 20. Right, unhook it. And it's still not playing the game. That still not playing the game. Right. So let me hang my black phone back up again. Indeed, neither in a mobile at the minute. Um, I'm hearing a click when I just move the dial slightly. I have so much trouble with cords and wires and things. When I move that dial slightly, I get a click. Now, I know last week I said there were two that you had to wire together on the dial to make it like a CB phone. I wonder if we can do that. I'm definitely not getting anything there. Right, I've got a dial tone there. That tells me I've wired this dial the wrong way round. Those things that I looked up, the colours for the dial which I looked up before I started, it tells me that I've actually done it the wrong way round. So let us find what colour they should be. So let's have an image search. And see if we can find a picture of the back of a dial with all the things on it, all the connections on it. And it's surprisingly hard to find a photo of that, actually. I'm having a look. I'm looking. I am looking. Doo-be-doo-doo-doo. I could just take it all one apart, couldn't I? Just look at them. Just look where it all goes. All the images that you can go through, there's not a single image of the back of a dial with those connections on it. But I've definitely got it the wrong way around, I think. pictures of the back of the dial that I can see. I know you can't see these because they're all copyright images and that, you see, so I can't show them to you really. But there's no pictures of the front. So it looks like I'm going to have to take one apart and have a look. Not an image of one of those dials. Right, here, there's the dial I'm dealing with. But doesn't actually show you. Even Bob Freshwater's website doesn't show you which way round they all go, so I will have to take one apart because you've got all the pictures of the backs of the dials but none with the actual connections on. Which will be the same on every one. But now, right, have I got one handy? I can, oh I have, I've got one in bits here. Right. That one's not got the connections on it. Boom. Right. But I've got one on the desk, haven't I? I've got this 706 clone on the desk, right. We'll have a look at this this 706 clone that's sitting here on the desk then. This one. That's been here for so long. Well, I mean, that's an AL12 on there, but the connections will be in the same order. So let's have a quick look inside it. And this is another one, so only got one screw in the top, so I could fit one of some spare screws to this. Right, so it goes, let's have a look, orange, pink, brown, orange on the bottom, right, the connections are in a different order. Pink is on the top. There. I wonder if it's that way up. if I've done it the wrong way up on the dial. I wonder if it should be the other way up. So, hence, I mean, what I've done is right for a 21, but as I say, I don't think this is a 21. Unplug it again. You see, they are different, you see, the connections on those. Red, pink, brown, grey, blue would have been right had it been a dial 21, but it's not. It's a dial, whatever it is, it's 54A. So let's have a look at what the difference is. Let's have a look what the difference is for a dial 54A, shall we? We'll see what we can do. Right, dial number 54A. EMI proprietary design used in lieu of a dial 21. Yep. Supersedes the dial 21. And we know that. So nowhere does it tell you just which way around they should be wired up. Why does it not give you this basic information? Dial number 54A. I want more information on that. There is none. So, yeah. 54A is apparently a proprietary dial, EMI proprietary design using louver dial number 21, and that is the 54A. But I think I'm going to take it out because it's an EMI design and this is TMA phone. So who were TMA? So let's have a look who TMA were. On the big long list, somebody will be telling me now in the chat, but I can't see the chat at the moment. Q S T TMA is TMC Airdrie CGNA. So GNA, and GNA is Pie Scottish Communications Airdrie. TMC from 1970 onwards. So it was TMC. But what's TMC part of EMI? I don't know. But I think I'm going to change this dial because it's proving to be a bit of a pain, isn't it? Have I got one laying around I can just stick in there? Actually, I don't think I have. Unfortunately, they're all hacked away upstairs. What is the answer with this dial? What is the answer? Right, I'm going to borrow one off another phone just to see if it works. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to borrow this dial off this chassis that was sent to me the other day by a mysterious person who sent me a chassis the other day with a dial in it. So I'm going to borrow the dial because the dial is not wired up in this chassis. So we'll borrow that dial. Phone refurbished in 1975. Right. And what's this? This is not actually a 21 either, I don't think. Oh, it is. It's a dial 21 from EMT in 1976. So it's not entirely right for this phone necessarily, but it will at least give us an idea if the thing is working. So what did I say? Orange, pink, brown, grey, blue is what I said. So I'm getting a phone call from somebody who's now going to tell me what's right and what's wrong. Shall we see if we can get him on live? I think this is Arthur. Hopefully you'll be able to hear Arthur.
Hello, Andy.
Hello, Arthur. How the devil are you?
Sorry to interrupt your show.
Thank you for interrupting, because I'm having a bit of a head scratch here.
Right. Well, I can open up that telephone and I'll show you, and I'll take a picture of how to wire that dial that you were looking at. One
of these with one of these dial 54A or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
One of them. And but normally GNA telephones had EMT marked dials. EMT.
Yes, I think.
SLW was in speakphones and stuff. But I'll take a picture. I'll open up this phone and I'll email it to you in the next 10 minutes, right?
Lovely, brilliant. You're an absolute star, Arthur.
Okay.
Right, lovely. Well, I'll wait for it pinging to me in a minute.
Okay, Andy Cooper 2, yeah?
That's the one. Yeah.
Right, okay.
No, Arthur. No. New one. Andy at coalpress.net.
Can you text it to me, possibly?
I can try. Yeah. I'm sure I can. Yeah, I'm sure I can. I'll send it to you now.
All right then.
Cheers, Arthur. Bye.
Bye.
Right, I've just got to send him my email address. .net. Right, so Arthur's going to have a little look and tell us what's right or wrong. In the meantime, I'm going to try this other dial on it anyway and just see if it solves the problem. So Arthur's going to tell me which way around to do that dial 54. In the meantime, we'll do it with what is essentially a late version of a dial 21 with plasticky bits in it. So that is what we will have a go with at the moment. Right, I'll swap your cameras back. So what did I say? Orange, pink, brown, grey, blue, and the way I do it, I work from left to right here. So orange, pink, brown, grey, blue. Hang on, where are you? You're over here. Orange, pink, brown, grey, blue is the way I look at it. Don't know about anybody else. So yeah, there you are. Right, we're in the right place now. Marvellous. So orange. Now this is for a dial 21, definitely, we know this is right, but we think it might be a different order on one of those dial 54s. Orange. Pink. Brown. Grey, which is that one, and blue. Now, assuming this dial is working properly and all the contacts are clean and everything in it, that should fit in there now. That should fit in there, and I should now be able to throw that little switch thing that holds that down. Right, I'll put my other phone back together now, the one I call people on. So my trusty black one that sits on the desk here, I will now put the case back on it. And this actually just needs a screw in the top of there. Now, he sent me some screws, did Steve, so we'll put a screw in and we'll do that job while we're here. Good job I titled this Bits and Pieces, isn't it? So that's on there. These are those screws that Steve sent to me. So hopefully somewhere in here, I believe that's one. I reckon. There are some screws that will just go into the top of here. I mean, so many problems with USB cables on this computer at the minute that just don't seem to fire properly. Right, so, you know something? Is it right or not? Yeah, I think it is actually. Yeah. I think we are indeed screwed in there. Right, now. So now, I should now be able to dial uh, 20. I should be able to call 20. Now that's interesting because it's not ringing. Oh, hang on, it's not ringing because I've not plugged it in. I'm an idiot. So Andy, you're an idiot. I unplugged it, didn't I? I was messing with it. We did indeed, right. I have now plugged it in again. Let's try it. Well, it's ringing. So let's try picking it up. Seems to be working. So what we will now do then, now it seems to be working, is we'll hang it up. And I'll dial out on it, but I obviously won't use the dial because I've not got a finger wheel on this dial at the minute. But I should be able to dial 21 and ring this phone on my desk. I've got a dial tone. Yeah. There's the phone on the desk ringing. And that's working. So the problem that I've actually got then is purely and simply that this dial 54, you wire it up in a different way. I've got some of the terminals wrong on this. Now we're now waiting on Arthur to tell us which way round they should be. So let's have a look at my email and see if anything's come through my email yet. Starting email. Back of a dial 21 from Christopher. Yeah, that's a dial 21 though, Christopher. Yeah, that's brilliant, and it is indeed right. I can show you what Christopher sent me, does it say? There's what Christopher sent me as the back of a dial 21, and he is indeed right, but this is not quite like that, because you see that is the back of a dial 21, and if I show you the back of this upside down on a camera as well, hang on a minute. Right, that's a dial 21, have a look at that. And then look at this. You see. Right, and these are numbered on this dial, you see, so if I show you that like that, and that like that, it's hard to work out what's what, isn't it? Because they're in a totally different sort of pattern. So that's my problem. That the pattern is different. So yes. But hopefully Arthur will come to the rescue in just a moment. But yeah, he'll save the day in just a few minutes, hopefully. Right. So anyway, that's going to be this green phone in just a second or two. So we've proved it works. I'm going to take this dial 21 off, because this does belong with that chassis that's behind me. So I am going to take this off again. Now I'll unplug the phone first. And we'll take off this 21. But I will wire it in properly onto that chassis that's behind me, that somebody mysteriously sent out. I feel it may have been Arthur that sent that, but for those of you in the chat thinking who's Arthur, not quite knowing who he is, he's a guy who watches the show regular and contributes because he emails me and stuff, but for some technical reason he can't get in the YouTube chat, but he does watch, as has been proved tonight. So everybody say a big thank you to Arthur for solving this conundrum. Right, so this chassis that was sent to me, just as a chassis, can we wire up the dial bits and pieces? 1, 2, 3. No, hang on. No, there's no dial. There's no cord on it that goes between the dial and, if I show you it like that, there's no cord to wire it together. So that's why it's not wired together at the minute. So we'll not wire it together until I get one of those. I've got one of those here, but I think it's a broken one. Yeah, it wants some connectors on the end of it. But yeah, so that goes in there. We do that up again. And that chassis we can then sort out. I'll have a look at the chat in a moment. I've not looked at it for ages. One moment, please. Right, what are folks saying in the chat? Where are we? Oh, Chris says it's my birthday on Friday the 12th of April, Friday the 12th of August. Happy birthday, Christopher. That's this coming Friday, isn't it? Happy birthday, Christopher. I had no idea it was your birthday. So happy birthday on Friday, Chris. I'm just scrolling, as old Big Clive would say. Dominic said, I might head off earlier than usual. I was on a night shift on track earlier today. Crikey. Fat Hobbit says, I enjoyed your unboxing video, Andy. Oh, the Contemporary. He says it was a real bonus. That's because I said I hate unboxing videos. You know, on YouTube, where there's somebody taking something out of a cardboard box. Why? But people do seem to like them. But I'd already half opened my cardboard box. I thought, why watch people just take tape off a cardboard box? You know, you only have one life. Why waste some of it watching that? But people do seem to like them for some reason that I can't quite fathom. I will do some more. If you really want unboxing videos, I'll do some more. There should be some stuff coming this week, so I'll do some more. Alright, Wesley says blue D1, slate D2, brown D3, pink D4, orange D5. Right, Wesley may have solved it. Right, he says blue D1, and they have got numbers on. As you look at it that way, the numbers go 1, 2 at the bottom, 3 at the top, 4 at the bottom, 5 at the top. So they go zigzag. Now, so Wesley may have solved it if only I'd looked earlier. Let's see if Wesley's right, shall we? And see if it agrees with what Arthur is going to tell us. Right. Oh, this is the other phone, isn't it, that I've got in my hand here. Right. So this one can go back over here. Now for a moment. It's much more complicated than I thought it was going to be this tonight. Right. This is the one that we're working on. Right, turn it that way around. I can't see it. So then, Wesley says blue to D1, slate to D2, so blue, grey, brown to D3, pink D4, orange D5. So he's saying blue, grey, brown, pink, orange. Blue, grey, brown, pink, orange. So it is the other way up to what I'd got it. It is exactly backwards to what I'd got it. Blue, grey, brown, pink, orange. Apparently. So let's see if that works. Blue. grey, or slate as they call it. Why do they call grey slate as in slate grey, but they don't call blue like sky as in sky blue? They don't say like sky, earth, baby as in baby pink, and slate is the only one that they sort of use a sort of name for. Say blue. Blue, slate, brown, pink, orange. Blue, slate, brown. So this is exactly backwards to the way it goes on a dial 21. Brown. Pink. And orange. Now this is a proprietary dial, so probably wasn't actually on a GPO phone originally, so this is probably built out of bits. That one doesn't seem to want to hold in there, but right. There we go then. So let's plug it in again. See what happens. Right, plug it in, it clicks. Right, I've got a dial tone this time. Let's dial my other phone from the desk. Oh yes. Wesley's done it again. Right, round of applause for Wesley. He was right. He definitely was right, was Wesley. That is the right way to do it. So, on these dial 54s, it goes orange, it goes blue, grey, brown, pink, orange. It most definitely does. Meanwhile. Arthur says the same. Blue, grey, brown, pink, orange. As I can show you on this picture that Arthur's just sent through. There you go. Blue, grey, brown, pink, orange. Which is exactly backwards to the way that would look if it was dial 21. So so that is it. That's not my phone that you're looking at there. That is actually one that Arthur's opened up to show us a picture of. So thank you, Arthur, for confirming it and showing us the visual confirmation. So thanks to Wesley and Arthur for sorting that one out. I'd have been here all night without them, wouldn't I? Here all night. Right, brilliant. So we've cracked it. We've got it working. We'll put the top back on it now then, shall we? Right. Where did I put the top? About 3 days ago when I started this project. Here we are. So remember, it's a 746. Remember, it's got that hooky thing on the front. You've got to get under the front of the casing, and then you've got to sort of spin this around to get the hole lined up where the finger stop in the dial is. Oh, I've not what's-it-and that on yet, have I? I've not tightened that up yet. There. And here's now. Right. So that goes there like that. Then you have to sort of pull the top of the dial outwards. And I say it every time, these are a real struggle to do. They always have been a struggle, they always will be a struggle. It's a terrible design. Whoever came up with this design at the GPO ought to be summarily shot. Because if you've ever taken the top off an American 500 series, and I say this every time, it just drops on. Why on earth they could not do that for these, I do not know, but that's GPO for you. They didn't get everything right. So that is now on. It does need a blanking button. We'll find one of those at some point. Then here is the little screw that goes in the back. Now this should have a spring on it. Then the key is, because this screw is only threaded part way down, you can put these in too far, put them past the thread so you can never get them out again. So only put it in loosely if it's not got the spring on, otherwise you'll have a devil of a job getting it out again. So just put it in loosely like that. We can put that on there like that. And I've just discovered that that is lifted up there, look. That's from having to force the case on. So this is now where you have to take it all apart again and you find you can't get the case off. Now, they really are terrible, these. Really are terrible. You can do it there, but you can't get. Have we done it? I think we have. Finally! Finally we've done it. Right. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it's on. Hello? 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 It does indeed work. Excellent. We've actually got it working. So, there we have it. One green telephone, all nicely working. Just need a blanking button. It's not actually too faded either, this one. It's not faded at all, really. It is nice, this one. So yeah, one working green phone. So thanks to everybody who's helped out with that. That really has been a proper group effort, that one tonight, hasn't it? Proper group effort. We'll now wind the line cord around it as I normally do. And we can put that one to one side for a minute. And yeah, that's that one. Brilliant stuff. Right. Before we go, just time to show you the other thing that arrived, that was the Right, it's alright. Just reading something. This is the other thing that arrived the other day. As you can see in the bottom, you can't see, I'm not on the wrong camera. Right, here we are. It's like unboxings, I'll unbox it again. Right. This is a Contemporary. I believe came from Cancer Research UK. They were selling it. I have a big problem with charity shops selling things on eBay. And had I known this was being sold by a charity shop, I probably wouldn't have bid on it. But I just didn't notice. And my problem with charity shops selling things on eBay is this. Charity shops exist to make money for a charity. And so they have these high street shops. But anything really worth having never goes into the high street shop. Anything a bit unusual or interesting, they don't put on a high street shop. They put into a big warehouse somewhere and then it goes on eBay. So my problem with charity shops selling on eBay is basically, why do they have the charity shop? They might as well not bother with the charity shop, because if anything interesting goes onto eBay, then it's totally pointless going in that charity shop. You just know it's going to be full of nothing but old crap, you know, tat, you know, worn out clothes and scratched CDs and that's all that's going to be in it, because anything interesting like this won't be in the shop. Now, not all charity shops do it, but a lot of the big ones do. Ashgate Hospice, which is a local one to me, do it. Cancer Research UK apparently do it. And lots of the big ones do it. I think Sue Ryder does it as well. I know somebody that does some voluntary work with Sue Ryder shops, and I think they do it as well, he said. But it makes having the shop totally pointless, because if all the good stuff goes on eBay, why bother ever going in the shop? So anyway, that's my little rant about it. So this came from, this was said to be in good condition by Cancer Research UK, whoever had done the listing for it. It was said to be in good condition. Yeah, we'll put the yellowed, discoloured line cord to one side for a while. Now, in fairness, there were pictures of this on the eBay listing that did show some of this damage, but it was not mentioned in the description. So there's a big chunk out of it here, and this is common for contemporaries to have bits out of the bottom of the cases. It's very common. There's a big chunk out of it here and round here, as you can see. And why is there a chunk out of it? Because somebody at some stage has opened it up without taking the screw out that is concealed down here. Whoop! Be another chunk out of it now if I drop the handset like that. Right. So, down here, behind this little window that you would normally put your telephone number in, is a screw. Well, somebody has ripped this open because the screw is there, look, still with a bit of the casing, and a bit of the casing just dropped off. I just see it go pinging across the floor here because the screw's still in there, and that's probably how this happened here, through somebody trying to pry the case off, and maybe how the one at the end happened as well. So somebody, unlikely to have been the charity shop, because I don't think they'd have bothered opening it up, has basically knackered up this case. Right, I found the bit that I dropped. The bit that I dropped is there, you see. So that bit there, look, is a fit to go in there. So what we're going to do, I'm going to put a light on so I can see what I'm doing for a start. But what we're going to do, wait for the camera to settle down again, is try and sort this. Now these little windows have a tiny pinhole at one end of them, and what you do is you put a pin in the pinhole like that, flex the window so you can get your fingers under it in the middle, and then you should hopefully be able to flex it enough that you can get it out. There we go. So that's now out. So now I've got some bits of broken plastic that need to go back in. So I've got a bit that needs to go in there like that. You can see how good a fit that is in there. So it's time to get the old acetone on the job. That bit goes in there, and then if you unscrew this here and try not to let that bit of plastic go around with it, that bit is there like that. I could do with a bigger desk. We can do that. So that bit of plastic was like that. So I flip the lid over so that goes like that on there. So does it? No, it doesn't. It was the wrong way around anyway. That fits like that on there. So we can rebuild that using my acetone welding trick. We can rebuild these bits hopefully, so we'll have that bit out. So, and somebody scribbled on the wiring diagram as well. So we'll put the chassis of the thing to one side for a minute, and the handset, so don't drop it on the floor again. And we'll find a brush and a bit of acetone. And we'll start rebuilding. So first thing we'll do is take this broken bit out of here again. That obviously goes in from the outside. Get a drop of acetone, put it on the broken edge there, put some on the broken edge of the bit that's going in the hole as well. You know, put enough on because it evaporates very quickly, acetone. That's going in there like that, so we can now just pop that back in there like that. And what I do then is just brush a bit on the outside to hopefully just liquefy the surface a bit and hide the joint. So although that will be rough there, you know, until it gets sanded or something, we will be able to polish it up and hopefully hide the joint. Okay, so that's that bit. So now I've got the underneath bit, and that just fits on there like so. Always do a dry run first with things like this. So just this edge where it's not actually got a broken side, it's got to put acetone around so to three sides of this sort of square-ish bit. Like so. Put that back into place like that, and again we'll brush a bit of acetone on the edge just to sort of seal up all the joints and things. Don't have to be too neat with this because it's going to be on the inside, of course, nobody will see it. So just liquefying the surface again, and sort of the crack in the joint where you've put the bits back together, it's just trying to hide that. So there is that little bit rebuilt. So at least now we can put the case back on and screw it on properly. Because it hooks at the other end with these little hooks here, which luckily are not broken. I don't know how they got away with them not being broken. Now, the problem you have with these contemporary cases is you look at them and you think, oh, they're brown. Same colour as a Yeoman 746. And I did get sent a while ago a broken Yeoman case that was smashed to smithereens. It got smashed in the post, although it was a close colour match, it wasn't exactly a colour match. It was for a handset, for a contemporary handset that had a big chunk out the top of it, and I rebuilt it, but the colour match was not perfect. You could see where there was a bit out of the top of the handset. So that's all rebuilt now. There you see, like that. So we'll let that acetone dry. We should be able to fit this contemporary back together. So I'll put that up there a moment to get the rest of the foam back here. Now I really like these contemporary foams. They are very well built. The base is a metal on them, so they've got some weight to them. I don't know what sort of metal it is. I don't think it's aluminium. I think it's too heavy to be aluminium. I don't think it's steel. Some sort of Mazak or something like that. But I just really do like these foams. Some of them, if you get them from other parts of the world, they're a bit different inside, some of them. But this is a UK model, and it works. It didn't work when it came. I don't know if there was something stuck, but until I took the top off it, it didn't work. But it does work now, apparently. So I am going to try and put this case back on now. Putting the case on a contemporary, the correct way to do it is put the top in first. Like, put the top down and in, because those two lugs there, if you can see those, have got to go into those holes there. So you put the top in, down like that, and it just drops on like that, and then you get your screw, which is actually a relatively long one, but I think it is the right screw probably there. And you put that in there, the bit that we've rebuilt. Hopefully it's dry enough to do it at this stage. And all you have to do, it's not rocket science, is just screw it down. You don't have to massively tighten it up. Everything feels dry on there now, so I can now just put one end of that back in, bend it in the middle, fit the other end in, pop, that goes in like that. there we have it, and hopefully that is now a contemporary that will work. So shall we plug that one in and try it? So there we go, contemporary plugged in. Oh yeah, I've got a dial tone. Now of course these have got the weird dial with the finger stop that moves. So if I dial 21, there you go, rings. And it does work. But yeah, these are brilliant because this finger stop, the finger stop moves the dial. Although it's not immediately obvious, the dial is actually much smaller than a normal telephone dial. But the holes to get your finger in have to be the same size, because obviously people with contemporaries don't have smaller fingers, do they? The fingers are the same size. So you make the dial smaller, you've got to make the holes the same size, and so there's not the space to have that bit for you to dial a 1, you know, before you get to the finger stop for it to return. So the way they get around the problem is making the finger stop move like that. Can you see that? If I dial that, I might show it better. See, the finger stop moves with me. Like that. So yeah, really good phones, and the button is so you can start a new call without needing to press the hook switch on the base station. But they're really good phones. You use them on the desk, or you can hang them up. You don't need a separate wall phone. You know, the thing will sit perfectly straight up. You know, it hooks in. You don't have to have any fancy brackets or anything to make it into a wall phone. They're a really good phone, the Contemporary. Very overlooked by collectors and things. I think they're available in 2 or 3 colours in the UK. You could get this brown colour, I think you could get orange ones, I think you could get a kind of very pale browny, almost grey one as well. I think, I'm not sure about that. I think you could, but in other parts of the world you could get them in all sorts of different colours. But yeah, really good phone. We like the Contemporary. We like it a lot. It's a good phone, as I say. It's one of my favourites. So that's another one that we've got. It's just a shame about the big chunks out of the blooming case with it. But anyway, not to worry. We've mentioned it now. Right, let's have a little look what folks are saying in the old chatteroony again. Oh, there's so many stupid pop-ups appearing on my computer tonight. All about stuff that is trying to launch. Just I'm trying to charge my phone at the same time. Charge only. God's sake. Right. Right, what are people saying in the chat? Anyway, trying to ignore all this rubbish that's appearing on my computer. Christopher says, does the black phone case have a manufacturer stamp on it? No, is a simple answer to that one, Christopher, at least not that I've found. Daniel James G says, the newer dials T1 to T5 were in reverse. It says, but I'm 45 minutes behind you and you may have sorted it out. Yes, we have. Thanks, Daniel. We have sorted it. But thanks anyway. Anthony says, Andy, have you seen lately any trim phones with buttons or dials? And any news about the studio, Andy? Right. Yes. The answer to those two things is yes and yes. There's a trim phone on its way to me right now. That is one of the Snowden range phones. It is the brown and cream Snowden phone with a dial, bought off eBay for £15. Now, Snowden range phones go on there for a lot of money and people buy them. Do not be silly enough to buy one for a lot of money. They're really not worth it. All you are buying is a coloured plastic case. Snowden phones were just refurbished phones in the same way as a Yeoman is a refurbished 746 with a new brown case on it. The Snowden range trim phones were just old trim phones that Telecom, as they were called at the time, now BT of course, had just taken back and and just put new plastic cases on them, basically. So they're not particularly, in my mind, special. Okay, it's nice to have the different coloured ones and that. What makes them rare is the fact that, as far as I know, molds didn't survive for the trim phone cases, so people can't make new ones. But just like £150 for like a cyan coloured trim phone, I think it's just bonkers. But this one was 15 quid. It's a bit much for me to pay for a trim phone. I normally stop bidding when the all-in price for a phone gets over a tenner. And by the all-in price, I mean if there's postage and the postage is, say, 4 quid, I stop bidding at 6 quid, generally. Because you don't know what you're going to get. This Contemporary is a good example. You don't know if it's going to work or not. You don't know if you're going to need parts and that for it. So I treat everything I buy on eBay as sight unseen, basically. And so people say, what's my phone worth? And I say, well, I've not seen it. To me, it's worth a tenner. You know, and they say, well, it's this, that, it's this, it's that, it's something else. I say, all telephones, I just say, if you want to sell me telephones, because occasionally dealers do come to me, antique dealers, and say, I've got a few telephones that I've got in auction lots and that, do you want to buy them, Andy? And I say, yeah, I'll give you a tenner for them. I say, are they dial phones first? Have they got a dial on? I say, yeah, they've got a dial on. I say, right, okay, they're a tenner each, if they've got a dial on. If they push button, then I interrogate them a bit more. Because if they're the old push buttons, that were basically the push button version of the 746 and things like that, you know, then I'll have them. With the modern push button phones, don't have them. Just don't. Don't go there. And if they're replica phones, like replica trim phones, don't touch them with a barge pole. Really don't. They are so badly made. The only ones where I had a surprise on that was a replica candlestick phone that came with some other phones. I didn't want it, it just came with some other phones. It was a replica of a of a candlestick, of a, you know, telephone number 1 or a 150 or something like that. And I was actually surprised how good it was. The build quality of it was pretty good. So I have kept that one because it worked in exactly the same way as the original. You know, it didn't have a computer in it. It wasn't made of plastic. It was built out of metal the way the original was, and it worked in the way the original did. The only thing that gave it away was modern plastic cables and stuff on it. So I was quite surprised with that one, but it definitely was a replica. But generally, when they're like replicas of 746s and things, and replicas of trim phones, not very good at all. Related to the radio studio, it's all gone a bit quiet, basically because I've just got no time. No time. I've been there today. Actually, I went there this morning for about an hour, and it's the first time I've been there in a fortnight. Uh, so, so it's turned into a bit of a storeroom at the moment. But when sort of summer is over, you can't do stuff outside so much. It's getting cold and wet outside, and then it'll all start happening again. So it is moving forward slowly. But the thing is, when you actually start broadcasting, when you actually start a radio station, it's a thing you can't stop. So you've got to make sure you've got enough resource to keep it going before you start. Because once you start, you've started. You know, there's no going back. It's a bit like running the London Marathon. Once you start running the London Marathon, you really need to get to the end of the London Marathon. It's 26 miles down there, and that's a heck of a long way. So you got to really prepare for it, sort of thing. And something similar is the case for running a radio station. But yeah, we are hoping to get it going. What we are looking for at the minute is volunteers to come and help people who want to do shows either remotely from home that we can then play out, or better still, people who want to come into the studio and actually use the studio. So if you're anywhere near Plesley Vale, which is kind of on the Nottinghamshire-Derbyshire border near Mansfield, very close to junction 30, no, very close to junction 29 actually of the M1. If you fancy coming along and doing a show once a week or something, get in touch with me. You can get in touch via the website, which is there, andyshed.coldpress.net. It's got a contact us thing on it there. Cool. Right. What else are folks saying? Christian says, did you see the photo I sent to my 3 Australian PMG phones, Andy? I think I've got it, Christopher. I sort of saw it briefly on my phone, but I've not had a proper look at it yet. It takes a bit of getting them across onto the computer so I can look at them properly once I've opened on my phone, because I have to like go into a different email thing and open them again. And it's not Google anymore now. My email doesn't go through Google anymore because Google have been arses basically with email just recently. So I've de-googled my email, which is why my email address has changed. Yeah. Oh, Dominic's gone. Bye, Dominic. If you're still around, I think he's probably gone already though by now. Wesley says, do you need to add extra material when you do the acetone repair on trim phone handsets? The simple answer to Wesley is yes and no. It depends. Oh, I've took them all away. If you're repairing a clean break or a crack, generally you get away without adding anything, because you're just melting a very small amount of the surface of the plastic, like we've just done on this Contempora. They were clean breaks, so you get away without adding anything. Where you have to add something is where it's not a clean break, or where somebody's tried to repair it before with glue or something, and they might have got a bit of glue on it, and then you've got to get all the glue off, and you might lose a little bit of the plastic. There might be a little plastic shard that you lose or something, and then when you put the bits back together, when you do a dry run and put them back together, you find there's a little bit out, a little nick out of where the joint is. That's when you need to add material, and it's not easy with trim phone handsets if you want to keep the trim phone handset the original colour. For the same reason it's not easy with Contemporas, because they're a damn strange colour. And with the original colours of the handset, the sort of the original trim phones were sort of that ivory grey colour one. They did a blue one, which people now call the green one because of the way the the ABS changes colour over the years, and they did do a green one, which people now often call the brown one because it's a very dirty, pondy sort of green. But those colours were not on anything else. So if you want to repair, and of course a trim phone is two-tone as well, so if you want to repair a trim phone handset, the only place you can get plastic the right colour to repair a trim phone handset is another trim phone handset. And the problem is there are no spare ones, because as far as we know the trim phone moulds did not survive. All these replicas that are around now, so I'm told, are slightly different. I have asked a trim phone expert, said, you know, these replicas that you get, can you use the handsets off them? Are they close enough, sort of thing? You know, are they made out of the original moulds? And he said no, they're not. They are slightly different. So so the only place to get plastic to restore a trim phone handset is from a trim phone handset. So if you do need to add plastic, you can add ABS from other things, but it'll be a different colour. Now if you're going to paint the phone, that's fine, but if you want it the original plastic finish, you've got to have exactly the same coloured plastic, so you've got to sacrifice maybe one handset, so maybe you can repair 50 others. So it is a bit tricky, that, but the answer is sometimes I've found about 50% of the time, because I've been doing a big batch of trim phone handsets for the guy from Britphone, who's got a project where he's going to be selling a load of refurbished trim phones, and I've been repairing handsets for him, and I've found about 50% of the ones that I'm repairing do need to have plastic added. So it's a yes and no, that one, Wesley. Anthony says, I've got a different problem to you, trying to find a location in East London. Is that for a radio station, Anthony? North, east, south, west. East London. Yeah, I don't know East London very well. Yeah, is that for a radio station that you're trying to do? If it is, my question to you is, why does it need to be in East London? The thing is, it's logical. If you're serving an area with a radio station, whether it be an internet station or otherwise, it's logical to have your radio station in the area you're serving, but it doesn't have to be. So if you want to do local radio for East London of some kind, there's no reason why your radio studio, particularly if it's on the internet only, no reason your radio studio couldn't be in Edinburgh. Now, the only reason you might not want to have your radio station in Edinburgh is because if it's a local station and you're doing local community-based stuff, or you're interested in getting local musicians in to play, obviously if your radio station is broadcasting from Edinburgh to, let's say, Bow in East London, those aspiring musicians playing the pubs and clubs of Bow are not going to want to go on a train to Edinburgh to your station. And similarly, the local people who might be interested in being presenters on your station, presenters of shows and that, aren't going to want to go to Edinburgh. But you might find people in Edinburgh who want to be presenters but aren't bothered about the area where they present, but they'll then not have the local knowledge for the area that your station wants to broadcast to. The answer to this is to make your station at least national, or possibly even international. So don't be a local station, because there are a lot of people being local stations and that. So don't be local. Have some local stuff on, but only have local stuff on if it's also stuff that people far and wide would be interested in. So yeah, have a local band on, but have them on because they're good, not because they're local. Um, you know, you know, So yeah, try not to be local. Then you can put your station anywhere. That's what I'm saying. But I imagine finding property in somewhere like East London is quite difficult, particularly to find it at a reasonable price. What I will say to you, and this is radical, and I've thought about this, and I would still quite like to do this. Have you considered a canal boat? Because that would be relatively cheap. You can move it if you need to, or you can have it on a fixed mooring, and you would probably be able to buy one of those for less than renting property in London. Particularly if it was a glass fibre hulled one rather than a narrowboat. Christopher says, Andy, if I ever come to England for a holiday, I'll bring my rare N1970B phone to show you in person. Cool, Christopher. Cool. Auntie says, the radio station I'm talking about is a multi-use station to access any station and to train upcoming DJs. It's a multi-use station to access any station and to train upcoming DJs. So are you talking then, Anthony, about having a studio that can be linked up to any internet radio station and broadcast their programming? So, for instance, somebody who wants to make a show for a station somewhere in the globe, they want to make a show, like a syndicated show, and rather than do it in a home studio, they would rather go somewhere where there's a proper studio, where the output settings for that studio can be set to pipe the show into whatever radio station they want to, then off they go. So basically it's a studio facility, a bit like Elstree Studios for TV makes TV shows for all the TV networks. You're wanting to make radio shows for all the radio networks. Is that what you're trying to do, Anthony? Anthony said, I had a thought of a Luton Transit van, but not thought of a canal boat. I don't think a Luton van, Anthony, would be big enough to get all the equipment in you would probably need to do it properly. You see, there are a lot of people doing radio stations, particularly internet radio, who are not doing it properly. They think get a computer and a USB microphone and a few MP3s, and that's how you do it. Well, that's not how you do it properly. That's not how you do it properly at all. And if you're wanting to train DJs, first thing I would say about training DJs for radio is don't call them DJs. That would be my first advice. Don't call them DJs, call them presenters. Because the people who put the music on in a nightclub and that, to me, they are DJs. And it is a very, very different skill set to what you need to be a radio presenter. Some people do both, a lot of people do both, but they're generally only good at one. And I know a lot of people who are brilliant club DJs and then try and do a radio show, and it's terrible. It stinks. and vice versa. I would never try to be a club DJ. I'd be terrible at being a club DJ. So if you're wanting to train club DJs, fine, but it's a different thing to properly training radio DJs. What I will say to you though, Anthony, is feel free to get in touch, Andy at coldpress.net. write it down, andy@coldpress.net. Drop me a line, and yeah, have a visit and see what we're doing with the thing at Plesley Vale, because I think that could be tailored quite easily into what you want to do. It says, I'll send you a picture of the studio where it was originally set up in Croydon. Cool. So you've got all the gear from a radio station somewhere set up in that was in Croydon. So you've got all the stuff and you're just wanting somewhere to put it. Yeah. Double-decker bus if you want it to be mobile, but then you've got to find somewhere to park the bus. But I have known people build radio stations into double-decker buses. But like I say, I've always fancied doing it in a canal boat. When I was a kid, there was a programme on TV, some of you'll probably remember, it only ran for one summer on ITV called The Mersey Pirate, where they did a live Saturday morning kids show off a Mersey ferry, the Royal Iris, which is actually now moored somewhere in East London, strangely. But I remember that and thinking, this is quite good. And so I've always had the idea, and I quite like the idea of kind of pirate radio and that. You know, I wish I'd been around in the era when things like Radio London and that were working, and Radio Caroline and that, because I'd have probably been on one of those. Unfortunately, they were just a tad too early for me. Had it been 10 years later, I would have probably been on there. But yeah. Cool. Right. Anyway, I think we've about cracked it for today. So yeah, Anthony, get in touch with me, andy@coldpress.net. That goes for the rest of you as well. I can't put a graphic or anything up or put that in the description, because if I do, every spam bot in the world will find it. But andy@coldpress.net, that's CALLPRESS.net. Or, as I've said before, go to the website and just click on the contact us, and it will do the same thing. You type a message in that it then pings to me via the website as email. It does the same thing. Right, cool, that's marvellous. But yeah, good luck with the radio station there, Anthony. I'm tempted to say I think you'll need it, but I think it could be very successful. You've got an interesting spin on it by not starting a station, but by starting a facility for other stations to use and for other presenters to use. That's a clever idea, because there's already far too many stations out there, but what there aren't are many facilities for those stations to use. So yeah, a facilities thing is a very, very good idea. One thing I will say to you about the equipment side of it is generally analog is better than digital. Don't do any more digital than you have to. Everything that we're doing at Plesley Vale, it's all analog as much as it can be. The board, the main mixing desk, is entirely analog. Yes, there are inputs coming into it from computers, but they are not USB inputs. They are computer audio, analog outputs from the computer going into the analog board, that's then mixed in analog, then goes out to another computer that then digitizes it and sends it out either to air or records it as a file. But there are some more episodes of how to start a radio station coming up. But yeah, Anthony, come and see us. Come and have a trip up. Have a trip up to us and see us. Like I say, we're near Junction 30 of the M1, or we're near trains as well, and that. Come and see us, and I'll show you what we're doing. Chris says he got his rare XLN 11970B phone. Only seen it pop up in Australia. It must be made for Australia. Yes, I think it probably was, Christopher, because I've never seen one over here. It is an unusual version of an Ericsson. I've not seen one over here. Anthony says I've got a DNR Airmate. Now that's one I've not heard of, so I might have to Google that. Hang on a minute. Airmate. Is it one of those? Yeah, USB radio production. Right. I say yeah. You say it's USB. Yes. It's probably all right. If you bought it new, you paid about 3 times what you ought to have, though. The problem with that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It looks like it's only an 8-channel mixer. That I would have said, if you're wanting to train radio presenters properly, you ought to be looking at a mixer with about 20 channels on it. Make it difficult for them. If you want to train people and get them good, you see, when you buy a mixer, it's very difficult with mixers, because you buy a mixer and you think this has got enough channels on it, and then you start your radio station or your production company or whatever, and you realise your mixer's not got enough channels. Because you might think, oh, 4 microphones on this mixer are fine, 4 mic channels, and then some band walks into your radio studio one day. You've got 2 presenters and 5 band members. So suddenly your 4 or 5 channels, you've got to connect 7 microphones to it, and ideally you want to connect a microphone per channel. So it's tricky, but the mixing desk, get the biggest one you possibly can is what I would say. What we're using at Pleasant Vale are a thing called Soundcraft S10, which is an old mixer, but it's built like a tank. Now, mixers go wrong. Mixers all do go wrong. If you get an old big desk, you can mend it. You've got a chance. You can get a soldering iron out, and you can see where a capacitor's popped in it or something. You can take it out and put it in. These modern digital mixers, if I took a mobile phone apart, the first thing you need is a bloody scanning electron microscope to see the components, and that's the problem with these modern mixers and that. So that's what makes them difficult. But yeah, I would say for mixers, look at Soundcraft. Look at Soundcraft analog mixers, and specifically look at the ones that have got strips for each channel and all the different things, because they are modular mixers, so you can change those strips out, and you can tailor it to how you want. So you might have 5 mic channels and 2 CD player channels, or you might have 3 mic channels and 4 CD player channels, and you can change it as you want to. I was looking that I got 2 mixers that were the same, and I think I paid 700 quid for the 2 mixers, and I have found some of these strips to be faulty, and I've changed some of these strips out, and I've not investigated why the faulty ones are faulty yet, because I've just swapped them for good ones. because I'd got two, and I made a good one out of the two sort of thing. Because it is all modular, so you can do that. And bear in mind, when your radio station is on air, you need to be able to replace stuff quickly. It might not be so bad for you because it doesn't sound like you're going to be an on-air station that's on air 24/7. But if you're an on-air 24/7 station, you either need to be able to replace stuff quickly, or you need two studios that you can swap between at the touch of a button and go boom, onto the studio because this one's gone defective somewhere along the line. So yeah, it's quite tricky. Behringer MX9000. Behringer stuff is cheap, but actually it's all right. A lot of it. I'll just Google that one, see what an MX9000 is. Just bear with me a sec. Oh, now we're talking. Now that's a MX9000. Crikey, that is a. Yeah, now that's not a broadcast mixer, I don't think. I think that's like an event mixer, isn't it? You know, for like mixing a live event. It doesn't look like a broadcast mixer. You can use them for broadcast. I'll show everybody else what we're looking at here, just so they can see. Where are we? Behringer, there it is. Yeah, that's a Behringer MX9000. Now that's certainly got enough channels on it, I'll give you that. But for anybody who doesn't know about audio on that, looking at that, they'll go, crikey, that's complicated. But actually it's not complicated at all, because you look at a vertical strip of things. So you've got the fader at the bottom, and then you've got various buttons above it, but each vertical strip is one channel, so like one microphone or something, and all those little twisty pots do things like change the gain or change the tone and things like that. But once you've got it set, and all you do basically is use the faders at the bottom for the different channels. You can use event mixers on air. You can do it. I have done it, and I've done it with a reasonable amount of success. That's quite a nice one, actually. I quite like that. I think I'd sell that AirMate thing and get another one of those. Is this Behringer thing, is this digital or is it analog? That's what I don't know. Is it? It's 24 channel apparently. I quite like that. It looks like it's probably analog, is it? I'm looking at another one now that's on eBay. See if it gives me any clues as to whether it's analog or digital, and it doesn't, because of course they never take photos of the things you want them to take photos of. Oh, yes, it looks like it is analog. Excellent. Right. My advice, and you don't have to follow it, of course, because do your own thing by all means. My advice will be the little digital one in the desk would be to sell that and buy another Behringer exactly like the one you've got. Yeah? So that if you have problems with the mixer, you can then swap over. But have the two same things, because I think that would work for broadcast, that Behringer. I think that would be okay. It looks okay to me. That does. I'm liking that. It's pretty cool. Yeah, we're sort of wishing I'd seen that now. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, it's looking like there's one on eBay for about 475 quid at the minute. I mean, God, whether it works or not from eBay is anybody's guess. But yeah, you could probably do something with that. Has it got? Yeah, you probably do something with that. I would have thought. It's not ideal for broadcast because it's probably got a lot of things on it that you wouldn't use. And it's probably missing certain things like a telephone hybrid and stuff like that. But there are ways around that. So yes, I'd probably go with that Behringer desk. Like I say, they do a half decent product, Behringer. I mean, it's not the best in the world, but it's good for the price, Behringer. It's okay, and I do know little digital stations, internet stations and that, some of which have grown quite big, that have used Behringer mixers much smaller than that one. But yeah, if you're going to train people, yeah, train them on the big kit, because if you can use the big one, you can use a little one. But if you can use a little one and you learn on a little one, a big one is daunting, and you might not feel you can do it. So learn on a big one, then everything else is easier. But yeah, good luck with it. It sounds like a brilliant project. Like I say, come and see us, and if you get it set up and that, yeah, we'll come and see you. Might do an Andy Shed live out your studio. How about that? That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? But yeah, keep it going. It sounds like a good project. I'm liking it. It says the DNR has 2 telephone hybrids in it. Yeah, but you don't need to. Yeah, I'd get rid of that DNR thing, definitely. Anthony, I'd get rid of that, and I would get another Behringer, and there are ways of putting a telephone line through a mixer. Basically, what you do, there are things where you digitize the telephone line and then play it in just like you would play audio in from a computer and that. The other thing I will say to you, Anthony, is what software are you using for like playing your music and that, and basically putting your shows together? I highly recommend Rivendell. Highly recommend it. It's not just that it's free. I have used Myriad, various versions of Myriad, which is a big commercial one that runs under Microsoft Windows, and I have to say Myriad crashes a lot, and on more than one occasion I have rescued some fairly big radio stations and fairly big studios by plugging my aged laptop, or an aged version of Rivendell, into their output of their studio, completely bypassing their studio and doing a show off my laptop. The only thing that I've used through their studio is basically the mixer for mixing microphones. But I bypassed all their playout software and that. I used to do that regularly, and it, touch wood, it never crashes because it runs on Linux and it's a rock solid thing. But yeah, I highly recommend Rivendell. It's very, very good, and it is a professional bit of software. It's not consumer or prosumer. It's written by radio professionals for a professional studio environment. And people say, oh, I can't use that. Well, that's how a radio station works. If you can't use it, you know, you're not a proper radio presenter. Chris says, Andy, do you know if Ericsson made private trim phones? As far as I know, Ericsson didn't make trim phones at all, Christopher. It was STC that made them. STC certainly invented the trim phone. Whether other people made them later, I'm not entirely sure. But as far as I know, it was not an Ericsson product. Anthony says, when not vinyl, I've got Serato for computers. Never heard of that one. And using butt for the output side. Butt's a very good choice for the output side. Definitely go with that. That's what we're going to be using as well. Never heard of Serato. Are you going to be playing vinyl then on this radio station? What are you going to do for things like jingles and stuff like that, and commercial breaks and all that kind of thing? And how are you going to time programs so they finish to the second? And you see, what people don't realise in the world of how can I put this without it sounding awful? People who are setting up radio stations often don't do it right because they sort of do it in the back bedroom and stuff, and they've got no experience. You just think one day, oh, I can start a radio station, which you can, you can, but if you've got no knowledge of how a professional commercial station or something works, then you're probably not going to do it in a way that is compatible with a commercial station. So yeah, anybody can start a radio station using any equipment that they want, provided they can get sound out of it. But when somebody who they've shown how to use their kit walks into a BBC studio, they're not going to have a clue. One of the things that's a problem with the sort of home broadcaster, if you like, is they don't time things properly. And when you get into the big world of radio, which you probably already know about, Anthony, I'm sure it sounds like you pretty much know what you're doing, so I'm guessing you come from a radio background somewhere. I'm guessing you worked at a radio station or something, perhaps. Then timing is the thing. And one of the problems that we're having with PVR is people are offering us shows and they say, I've got an hour show for you, and I say, I can't have an hour show, I need a 52-minute show. And they say, why do you need it to be 52 minutes? I say, because we've got ad breaks. We've got 6 minutes of news and ad breaks. 8 minutes of news and ad breaks in an hour. So I need you to get to 52 minutes. So if I can get it to about 50 minutes, is that alright? No, I need it to be 52 minutes. And then they send me a show that's 51 minutes and 40 seconds. No, I need it to be 52 minutes. You know, when Love Island finishes on ITV2 and it goes to the commercial break, it don't finish 20 seconds early and there's a blank screen for 20 seconds, does it, before the commercial kicks in? It finishes to the second. So and it's really difficult to get people to understand that an hour's radio show isn't an hour long. And people can't say, well, I'm doing an hour's show. No, you're not doing an hour's show. You're doing a show that's going to be on air for an hour, but you're doing like a 50-minute show or maybe even a 45-minute show, because there needs to be these breaks in it where we're going to insert news, weather, sports reports, commercial breaks, sponsorship messages, all that kind of stuff. And it's really difficult to get people to understand it. Really difficult to get people to understand it. I mean, we said 52 minutes. I think actually we're going to change that and make it 50 minutes because you know, it's there's a lot to pack into those commercial breaks and things. There really is a lot to pack into them, and you've got to have them to the second. That's why the software that runs the station is absolutely key to what you're doing, because it counts down and times how long you've got left on your particular show, and how long the next song is, and all that kind of stuff. It really is a complex thing. I know a lot of people, I don't know so many people who work in radio, but I know a lot of people who work in television. I know a lot of big name television presenters who throw their arms up at the thought of doing a live show because they cannot time to what they call hit the post to the second. You know, if you're standing there in front of the cameras and that, and you hear in your earpiece, right, we're going to a commercial break in 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, and you've got to keep speaking, saying something comprehensible, and finish when that guy goes, roll VT, and or actually after he's gone roll VT, because they go roll VT at about 5 seconds before they cut to it. Yeah, it's very difficult. Timing is the thing that will be most difficult to teach people. Anybody can play a record, but can they play a record so it finishes at 59:59 so you can go to the news spot on the top of the hour? That's the hard part. And if you listen to the big radio stations, the biggest radio station in the UK is Radio 2, BBC Radio 2. That is the most listened to station in the UK. And when they go to the top of the hour, they get it wrong, and they've got some of the highest paid presenters in the country on there, and they mess it up. And somebody who messes it up a lot is one of the biggest names in radio, and has been for many years, and I'm a big fan, but but he does cock it up a lot, is Steve Wright. Right, I think that's about it for today. Crikey, it's 8:30. Blimey, we've been on for a long time today. Christopher says that the dial 21 PMGUs for the 801 phone might be made by Ericsson or GEC. Dial 21s can be made by anybody. So, yeah, dial 21s are made by everybody. Of course, originally they were made by the people who made the phone, Christopher. So, if you'd got an Ericsson phone, you'd got an Ericsson version of a dial 21 in it. But of course, these phones are all getting old now. When you go and buy one from your local antiques shop or something, somebody's owned it before you. They may have changed a dial that's not worked or something. So, and then I'll put a dial 21 made by somebody else into it, like I'm nearly having this one tonight to test it. So what you buy, although it all fits together, is not necessarily what was originally together in that particular phone. If you wanted to get something probably all original, you have to look at the maker codes on everything and make them all match up and stuff, and that would be horrendous to do, and to be honest, I never really bother too much with that. Right, that I think is about it for today. Anthony says Steve Wright works from his own studio at home. I don't think he does, Anthony. I think Wrighty is now in Wogan House, which is the old broadcasting house in central London. But is posse, the other people, This is his live afternoon show I'm talking about here. I'm not talking about Sunday Love Songs, which I think is a pre-record Sunday Love Songs, and he may do that from home, but his posse are at home because Tim Smith lives in Oxford and he's got a home studio at Oxford, and he works from there. And Jamie Lee Grace, that's on with him. I forget where she is. I think she's in Hertfordshire somewhere, but she's got a similar home setup, and it was all brought about by COVID, and they are still at home, because as far as I'm aware, the last I heard, Broadcasting House, which they now call New Broadcasting House because they built a bit on the side, or they sometimes call it Wogan House. As far as I know, they've got a rule at the minute where only two people are allowed in the studio. Only the presenter and one guest are allowed in the studio at any one time. The producers behind glass, so they're effectively in a different room. But as far as I know, last I heard, the COVID ruling was still only now two. You can have one guest in now, but you can only have one. And because Righty has got Tim and Jamie, rather than have one of them come in and one of them not, they're still both not coming in, I think. Okie dokie, right. And by the way, Steve Wright is finishing. If you didn't know, Steve Wright in the afternoon, that show is coming off air this autumn, or this fall, if you're in America, same thing. Yeah, that show is finishing. So, might be a slot there, Anthony. You might be able to get somebody trained up and on there. But yeah, Steve Wright in the afternoon is finishing. But yeah, I mean, I used to listen to his Radio 1 show, which was very much a sort of version of what he still does now for Radio 2. I used to listen to the Radio 1 show years and years and years ago. It won tons of awards, and is a thing that I try to emulate every day. The Radio 2 show isn't as good, but the Radio 1 show was fantastic. If you can ever find any tapes of Steve Wright's old Radio 1 show, go and listen to that, because it really is. You think, how's he doing that? And it's in the days when computers were in their infancy and probably weren't in the radio station, and he was doing it with cart machines and stuff like that, and wow. But the best technical radio presenter ever to walk the face of the earth. And I must admit, I didn't really appreciate it at the time because I was too young to appreciate what he was doing. But the best presenter technically that I've ever seen, by a million miles, Kenny Everett. He could do stuff that nobody else could do, and nobody else still can do. And his amazing skill with analog tape machines and stuff like that, and multi-tracking and making all those jingles and things that he used to do. You know, you can have thousands and thousands of pounds worth of computer power now, and you can throw at it, and you still can't do jingles like Kenny Everett made in 1960 something. Right. Anyway, that is about it for now. We've covered the whole gamut of things tonight, haven't we? From telephones to radio stations to God knows what. Have a look at other stuff on the channel if you want to. If you want to see more of the same, the channel on YouTube is Andy's Shed. As I say, we are also on the old website, which you can find it here, andyshed.coldpress.net. And if you like what we do here, why not support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Andy's Shed. We will be back same time, or around about the same time, same place, hopefully next week, when we will have, well, more of what we've had tonight probably. Thanks for joining us. It's been a great stream, and thanks for all your help out there, people. Literally couldn't have done it without you tonight. So until next time, have a fantastic week ahead, stay safe, and we will see you very soon. Bye for now.